Welcome everyone to the second Halls of Bracket Injustice. I need to work out how to say that. Before we get into the subject of today's video, I want to shill a friend of mine who helped me greatly when I started on YouTube by introducing me to a plethora of creators who helped motivate me. He has a GoFundMe because he was very recently diagnosed with cancer. His wife, also being American living in the UK, has an immigration issue and they need money to pay for lawyers and other such stuff. Link to the video and the GoFundMe in the description below. Today I want to talk about someone who has actually just been sentenced, but I want to go across what happened, what he did, what he got, and whether you believe this is the correct sentence for the nature of all the crimes, and there are lots of them, almost 200 in fact. All of them quite bad. The word grape is going to feature a lot, minus the G, and you are accurate. This is Reynhard Sinaga. He was a mature student from Indonesia. After 2.5 years of committing grape, he was finally apprehended by the police. Now 48 cases, 48 victims, were those that were used in court. And of those 48, only 4 were not raped. That doesn't mean other charges were not, however, laid at the feet of Reynhard Sinaga. You see, there were 195 men over that period of time who were being lured back to this man's flat under the guise of being a good Samaritan, who were then being de-rugged, and then after they had passed out, being subjected to grapes. During the court case, the trial and everything, it was proven he had committed 159 offences, 136 grapes, of which he filmed on 2 mobiles, or cell phones, whichever you prefer. Police have yet to identify, so there could be more charges in the future, at least 70 of the victims, because Reynhard Sinaga couldn't spring for good lighting, apparently. There was, because of the nature of this crime, there was a 2-year media blackout at the end of Sinaga's 4th trial on Monday, which meant that the media could now identify him for the first time, which I am totally okay with. I firmly believe in anonymity until sentenced, or proven innocent. The not proven one's a bit of a grey area I'm not entirely sure on just yet, but give me time, I'm sure I'll think of a position. Understandably, this has led to many calling for reviews of controls on what are called date grape de-rugs. Okay? And to be honest, I'm somewhat surprised there isn't as much control on it anyway. Considering the nature of some of those de-rugs, I am shocked. Ian Rushton, the Northwest Deputy Chief Crown Prosecutor, called Sinaga the most prolific grapist in British legal history. Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, has urged the Independent Advisory Council on the misuse of de-rugs to examine control on substances like GHB, more commonly known as gamma-hydroxybutyric acid, which is believed to have been used by Sinaga on the majority of his victims. Now, Sinaga is currently serving 88 concurrent life sentences with a minimum of 20 years before he can be considered for parole after the first 2 trials, which was related to 25 victims and were heard between 2018 and last year. He was sentenced on Monday for trials 3 and 4, where he was convicted of counts relating to further 23 victims. This is how long it's taking to process each individual case, and when they find the rest, this is going to go on for longer. When sentencing him at the Manchester Crown Court on Monday, Judge Suzanne Goddard described Sinaga as dangerous, deeply disturbed, and a perverted individual with no sense of reality who should never be released from prison. Something which I 100% agree with. We have in this country issued whole life terms before. In fact, there are a few prisoners in our system who are currently serving whole life terms. This man should be one of them. although the fact there's a chance he might see the light of day again is astonishing. The judge said that she strongly considered ordering Sinaga to serve a whole life term, which I totally agree with as earlier stated, which meant he would never be released, which would have been the first such sentence imposed for a crime other than murder. Not sure I can say that one, although if I've managed to get this video monetized, lol, January's dead anyway. Goddard said, interestingly, that it was a borderline case, therefore she could only pass a term for a minimum of 30 years, but added, in her judgment, he is a highly dangerous, cunning and deceitful individual who will never be safe to be released, but that is a matter for the parole board. I would point out, based on a recent parole blunder of a guy serving 16 years or 14 and getting out in half the time, and then the moment he got out to go and do, was it Usman? Yeah, it was Usman. On London Bridge, people remember that? Yeah. Parole boards aren't the brightest. Although that said, that guy didn't go to the parole board, did he? Okay, I take that back, but I'm leaving it in the video because I like to show when I make a mistake. A number of articles that wrote about this indicated the state of mind that Sinaga was in when he was in the trials, but also when he was being sentenced, implying that he was just an arrogant and very bored person who was constantly smirking, yawning, playing with his hair, while people were giving evidence about what he had done to people, from the victims themselves no less. A complete lack of regret expressed on any part of his being is a damning statement for the kind of person he actually is. Something which the judge Goddard also agreed with, where she said he showed not one jot of remorse, and that during the court proceedings he seemed to be actively enjoying the court process, finishing up by saying, "You are an evil serial can I say that word? Sexual offender who preyed on young men who came into the city centre wanting nothing more than a good night with their friends. One of their victims in their victim personal statement described you as a monster. The scale and enormity of your offending establishes that it is an accurate description. Rarely if ever have the court seen such a campaign of grape covered in so many victims over such a prolonged period." Sinaga, in his defense, claimed that his victims were enjoying acting out their fantasy of playing dead during intercourse. Understandably, this was unanimously rejected by the 4 trial juries at Manchester Crown Court. Many of the men in the videos, and this is where it was ultimately thrown out, could be heard snoring. Sinaga had a pattern, a routine as it were. After moving to the UK in 2007, he mostly preyed on undergraduates in their late teens or early 20s. What he would do is go out after midnight to wait outside clubs, usually Factory or Fifth, and prey on mostly straight young men who had been kicked out by bouncers or lost their friends or partners. Some had no money for a taxi, or their phone batteries had run out, and were all in a state of inebriation when they were approached by Sinaga. When he asked the men if they would come back to his flat and sleep on the floor or have a few more drinks, and they agreed, he knew he'd got one. And as with all psychopaths, he kept a trophy from every single person he took advantage and abused, going so far as to gloat to friends via text messages about what he had done, saying he was straight in 2014, 2015 is his breakthrough to the gay world, ha ha ha. Absolutely hilarious stuff right there, Sinaga. You should be a stand-up comedian. In 2017, and this is when it all fell apart for him, one of his victims woke up during the attack. Sinaga was arrested and his house was summarily checked, and yes, they found everything. Oh dear Lord, you deserve every year you got. As far as the ISO cubes go, there is one very small cell with your name on it. I firmly believe you should be there for the rest of your life. I don't like the idea of you being given an opportunity for parole. I do not believe you'll ever truly earn it or deserve it. Something which I now put to you, my audience. Do you believe Reynhard Sinaga should serve a whole life term? Do you believe 30 years is enough, or the concurrent sentences is enough? I don't like concurrent sentences, I should be clear. I think if you're sentenced for multiple attacks and they're all the same sentence, you stack them. But I could be wrong. Please let me know in the comments below. Now, I am streaming tonight at 9:30 PM on Moisky Live. I'm sure the Harry and Markle stuff is going to crop up, and I know bugger all about it. There's also a new video on the same channel. So if I don't see you there tonight, I hope you'll have a fantastic Friday and subsequent weekend. And thank you all for listening.